Yeah. It's all a sham. I'm not actually triple. It's all a sham. Wow. Okay. Is everybody ready? Are you gonna recognize me?
No.
The United States federal government should significantly decrease its support for anti-narcotics efforts in Colombia by evacuating and closing all forward operating locations in Colombia. Again, the United States federal government should significantly decrease its support for anti-narcotics efforts in Colombia by evacuating and closing all formal operating locations in Colombia. There is your copy. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. How does that decrease narcotics?
These are our military personnel that do anti-narcotics things. Okay. Advantage. First argument is that the drug war is failing in the status quo. The chair of the Western Hemisphere's subcommittee, Congressman Ankle, said that the U.S. support crackdown on cartels only left them stronger and more violent. Colombia and other Latin American countries are trying to change the strategy, but they can't do this without the U.S. Reducing its enormous influence in the area. Traffickers are forced to find new growing land for coca because of things like Plan Colombia. They're fighting us because we are fighting them. We're increasing violence in the region through the presence of our military personnel. Second argument is that this enormously increases the amount of violence in the region. The drug war creates war zones where narco-terrorism in Colombia is responsible for tens of thousands of deaths in the last couple of decades, especially with the increase in kidnapping. This means that the U.S. this indicates the U.S. is powerless to stop the harms that are happening in the status quo. There are more than 70,000 deaths in the past 6 years, which indicates that there's a high propensity for violence in the status quo. The third argument is civil unrest creates enormous amounts of displaced populations. 2.5 to 3 million people are internally displaced within Colombia because of drug violence. People are displaced because the government accuses them of being guerrillas or of crimes associated with being involved with drug gangs, which means that individuals are prevented from going home for fear of being arrested or being killed by the Colombian government. The fourth argument is the sequestration means that now is key. 40% of U.S. drug prevention budget and 10% of our interdiction budget was cut, which means that the status quo focuses on drug elimination, not on cooperation or on treatment. Also, solvency. First is a political transition. Colombia will take control of their own drug war. They are the best to be put in charge of fighting their drug war for several reasons. First is that they are a patron-based economy, which means there are lots of areas that are controlled by wealthy populations. This means that local community action is capable of solving cultural aspects better than state-to-state action. When the entirety of your population runs on a community-based control, then it means that you are best control. Then it means that you can best control the entirety of the population when you control through local community-based interests. This also means that internal action is capable of solving. Colombia is also capable of fighting the drug war. Colombia has been fighting the drug war with the U.S. for 20 years, which means that they have multiple generations of military and civil experts with plenty of experience. Also, unilateralism is best because it decreases local animosity over Colombia being a puppet of the West. A good example of this is Bogotá's current mayor used innovation to solve things like jaywalking, where he hired a bunch of mimes to make fun of individuals who are jaywalking across the street to stop enormous amounts of traffic jams. Indicates that innovation at the local level is necessary. The U.S. is preventing this in the status quo. Next. I think we started the timer. Oh, nice. Okay. Impacts. First argument is that national sovereignty is good and creates better policy making because it's more reflective of what individuals actually want. This means that it is the best representation of the intended government in Colombia. The drug war is bad for several. When we try to fight violence with violence, it creates more conflict. In places like Colombia, the violence exists because we keep fighting them. We say that we solve the drug war when we let the political transition happen, where people in Colombia can take control over their own over the drug war. We think the drug war is bad for several reasons. First argument is that it's incredibly dehumanizing. It is a bloody and violent conflict that uses bodies, literally kidnaps people off the streets and makes them into drug mules, where your body is literally worth as much coke as they can stuff into your orifices. This is especially problematic because individuals live in complete states of fear, where you don't know if you're safe walking across the street at night. You don't know if someone's going to break into your house and take you and use you as a drug mule. This is incredibly dehumanizing. It's also violent for individuals who are innocent and caught in peripheral violence as drug kingpins fight over what territory they're capable of controlling. The drug war is especially problematic and escalates to war at a larger level because it creates a cultural violence where violence is deemed as morally acceptable as culturally okay. This justifies and allows for further violence in the measures of escalation, which allows a premise of escalation, which can lead to infinite violence. That's a justification for violence, advantage to harms. First argument is that people are still reeling with the loss of their dear leader, the second coming of Simón de Bolívar, and the savior of Latin America. The little a is that the people dislike the U.S. presence in the region. The people of Venezuela dislike the U.S. presence in the region because it is an artifact of the Monroe Doctrine, which is the foundation of modern American empire. The little b is that Venezuela is ripe for a transition to a leader who will have more cooperation with the U.S. Literary programs in the Chavez regime, increased education level of the politique, where now 80% of people in Venezuela are illiterate. This is an enormous amount of population, especially in comparison to the rest of the world. This also creates individuals who are more moderate because of their education, which also national resources indicate. And the primary risk of the association of cooperation with the U.S. has been removed in the status quo. Also, Venezuela has money for social resources right now. Them and Bolivia have increased the domestic agricultural work has increased domestic agricultural work to move more towards a craft-based economy, indicates that it is ripe for transition right now. Solvency. First, that the plan sought to decreases U.S. power projection in the region. A base in Colombia is viewed as a military threat to Venezuelan military power because it's within the range of things like our jets and drones. This also decreases clash between the USFG and FARC, which is a lot of support for the Venezuela-Brazil-Colombia border region. Also, the plan creates an opportunity for cooperation between Colombia and Venezuela. Colombia is a key intermediary because they have had close relationships with the U.S. for 40 years, and they are a country that we have intervened in the past, which means that they are necessary to creating a relationship with Venezuela. Impacts. First is that a stable transition in Venezuela is necessary to stopping a section within drug kingpins within the region. If Venezuela does not create a mainstream stabilization of the border region and allows FARC to jump over the borders like Al-Qaeda does in Afghanistan and Pakistan border region right now, this is necessary to prevent lawlessness where at least a non-state actor take over. This causes extinction because non-state actors have a high propensity of using things like 137 cesium to blow up a dirty bomb within a city. This leads to a short time frame extinction level scenario. Also, war on the border region creates destruction of the Amazon, which is necessary for climate change because when you decrease the concentration of trees, you decrease transpiration rates, which means that you not only remove carbon sink, but you also cause escalatory climate change when you don't have water.
Okay, so it is going to be two things.
Can I get a copy of the plan text?
That would be Alright, is everyone ready? First is going to be the pink tide to sad. He's pointing to neatness. That Chavez was the leader maintaining the pink tide in South America. What is Alba? What is Alba? The lanes that they keep big loads without conditions to Central and South American countries. Will be that Chavez sold oil in Cuba in order to have access to the doctors in Cuba. We'll see that Alba set up multi-state corporations so they don't operate under the mode of profit, rather for socialism. Two is leadership. The ways that Chavez after 21st century socialism that puts humans and not machines that stay ahead of everything. And Chavez led other democracies and socialist governments like Nicaragua, Brazil. Number three is they have strongly against exploitative U.S. policies. One, Malays that in 2001 the Americans stood against and Chavez stood up against the United States for creating a free trade agreement within the region. And by 2005, 12 different nations also joined Chavez, and the five against the United States will be that Colombia's drug war, the Chavez joined Latin America against drug wars, and it was just an excuse for U.S. imperialism. The brink is that Alba's being threatened now along with the pink tide because Chavez is dead, and that was not too much of a contingency plan, and also countries are worried about the state of Alba. Little bees. The U.S. opposes Alba, we're leaving basically elites hesitant. The links here is the plan chief's perception of the U.S. and Latin America as an anti-drug war, means it's more likely for countries to start trading with the United States and to agree to FTAs. Number two is that the plan helps narco-terrorists because the decreasing enforcement, or decreasing enforcement bad for Alba because basically it can pin the instability of communism. So instead of it being a problem with drug war, it now becomes a problem with communism, which decreases the legitimacy of the pink tide in the long run. The reason that makes Colombia look like it's good, it's able to solve its own problems. That's bad because Colombia's one of the key holdouts in Alba, which means that it props up these capitalist nations that basically decreases any sort of movement, any sort of communist movement in the region. Here, once the right-wing corrupt leadership will happen, that means that it's going to be kind of the case because the right-wing government's going to be coming in here and not necessarily helping the people, not going to the economic structure that they need to. Number two is that this decreases the check on any sort of U.S. exploitation because they're no longer say the U.S. is exploiting us through this drug war, but rather they'll start to move towards them. Additionally, the C2 collapse because they become more capitalist post-plan. The impacts here versus also turns cases makes it literally imperialist and therefore, and also the pink tide is key to be able to solve poverty because they get official bank loans, key to Japan's poverty increased 20% with IMF loans that will fill the gap post-plan. But additionally, World Bank said that poverty decreased from 60% to 30% in 8 years in Venezuela, proving that pink tide politics actually works. Number three is that this also gives access to free healthcare because infant mortality in Cuba and Venezuela is way less than the United States. It's pretty shocking, but this all results reason as to why the pink tide movement is working now. And you absolutely killing. You should also weigh these impacts. You should target these impacts because these are systemic impacts that are occurring now, right now, which means that we have a higher probability of this being able to solve back than anything else. Yeah.
What is the pink tide and what is ALBA?
Pink tide is the communist movement. It's like the socialist communist movement. ALBA is the organization that's the organization within Latin America that's been pushing for communism in the region. Cartels to sad. Ace points weakness. One is that this ace points weakness. One is supply relationships between Colombia and intersection headed towards Mexican cartels. The way that in December 2012, U.S. was able to U.S. trained police was able to seize 1.5 tons of coke. I wish I was there to get it. Would be is that the Colombia and Mexico have a history of being able to trade 8% of cocaine from Colombia goes to Mexico. Number two is that the Mexican cartel violence has been contained in several ways. That the mayor on the cities on the border of the Arizona Mexico border said that the state is in 2 years. Little B said the government accountability office said that violence is down 50% along the borders. Go to Mexico, Texas, and California, and Arizona. Number three is that Mexico new presidents, basically their reforms are being successful. Way is that the new president is starting to focus away from the interception of drug cartels and more onto increasing safety of citizens. Will be that according to a Fox survey in 2012, they concluded that only 36% of Mexican cartel civilians report gangs in their areas. The links here one is the plan makes smuggling easier because it decreases the outlying and training of police in Colombia. So even if they do have trained police now, in the long run, they won't be able to solve that for the increase in drugs that are going to be happening. Additionally, two is that the plan makes drug collection easier because there's no people check the amount of growing that's occurring. Number three is that the plan makes cartels think the U.S. is backing down to the war on drugs, which means that they will become emboldened and start to move north because they'll have just influx of cocaine, which means that they'll start going back up into the United States. The impacts here is border stability because an oversupply pushes the cartels north. This kills over hundreds of thousands of people in Mexico because in 2006, over 170,000 people died as a result of drug instability. Number two is terrorism. War on the border opens up a way for terrorists to get through. Hezbollah already has sectors in Mexico. They're also being funded by Mexican terrorist groups. We say there's a high probability of Hezbollah sneaking over chemical biological weapons into the United States. That's going to be pretty damning. Someone takes a 4-pound bag of anthrax, kill over 100,000 people within only a few hours, and this would also result in retaliatory wars where the United States goes in and intervenes elsewhere. It also causes the death of hundreds of thousands of people as well. It means that we are not only getting to human impacts, but also larger impacts in the long run. Logan, do you want anything else?
You can extrapolate more.
I mean, good case. First argument on your solvency point, use the term is going to be taken over. This is not going to be able to solve because they've actually historically been working with paramilitary groups and also drug cartels within the area, which means there's no ability for Colombia to take over. Additionally, we are still the place still allows for us to find international efforts, but we have no ability to monitor it, so we don't know how this is going to be contained in scope and to be able to have U.S. monitoring this region to be able to contain what's happening now. Additionally, on your impacts. Using national sovereignty to go, but there's going to be violence in the region because Colombia is still working with drug gangs. You're never going to be able to decrease the amount of violence in Scotland. Additionally, on dehumanizing, there is all costs of drug mules. There's all costs of drug mules like Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala means you don't solve for. All it's just a dehumanization. If they do solve for this one instance, we'd say that you still are increasing the amount of drug supply in the region. We do know that it's all back to this initially, and that no escalation of war because it hasn't happened over the past couple of years, which means there's no risk of escalation in this area. Only risk of drug war, escalation of drug wars would be on the U.S.-Mexican border because it's had a history of escalation right now. And also we have the Hezbollah arguments which show that the only propensity for any sort of escalation is in the World Post Plan with the Mexican cartels did that. Anything else, Logan? Advantage 2. First of all, you say U.S. You say people use this U.S. presence in the region, but also influences places like Brazil and Honduras, where we are.
That's the link to our.
Never mind. Take that out. Doesn't matter. Okay. The entirety of the entire this case, because people dislike U.S. presence in the region in order for them to push down 1% means that the entire turns entire of this. Additionally, is that you don't solve the impact of this case because there's no propensity for Venezuela and Colombia to cooperate with each other, especially since Venezuela hates us. Also, we have no ambassador to Venezuela right now, so there's no ability to create a dialogue between these two countries. And also, there's all causes to the deforestation of the Amazon because Brazil specifically is exploiting the resources in the region, and they are massively chopping down the Amazon. Actually, at each 5 seconds, 1.26 acres of the Amazon are chopped down. Yeah.
All of their things about literacy and stuff are thinking about how they do it.
Yeah. That's our argument for peptide turns case.
Well, there's going to be case advantage 1, advantage 2, then pink tide, then drug cartels.
Cartels, then pink tide?
Pink tide, then cartels.
Okay. And then advantage 1, advantage 2?
Okay, so everyone good? First argument on case, you see that Colombia's working with failed military groups in order to solve the problem. This is not true. The Colombian government, the Colombian military and police forces are working against these things. We are right now practicing control of the critical infrastructure within Colombia. This is one of the wars under our why the drug wars increasing with the world. The status quo. Colombia has tried to stop this and entering negotiations with these people as well as using police forces as well as using police forces. Furthermore, in the United States, the United States as well in the world status quo because we're cooperating with them. We indicate that there's structure in place to be able to solve the guns, weapons, technology the United States has given them alone if they haven't had to resort to this next. So that they're not with their monitoring. We don't stop any types of modern efforts from happening. We remove the physical people and the physical air technology and base technology that the United States has from these bases and forward operating locations. Doesn't even stop all types of intelligence sharing and communication with Colombia. Except the impact of advantage when we say that we're keeping stopping violence in the region, increasing national sovereignty. We say that this is the only way to solve terrorism, long-term reach, control, internal link to your disadvantage national sovereignty. The only way for individuals to voice being heard and that they're not being co-opted by the West, which is the only way to decrease terrorism and support and stability within the region. For the cross-border dehumanization impact, we say this is uniquely bad because people are being used as drug wars. It's uniquely bad because people are civilians and not part of the conflict. There's worse than fingertips of wars. There's people who die to be soldiers who are chosen to participate this far. The world as possibly escalation argument this far to be controlling the leads to terrorism. Next, advantage 2. You say big tech turns advantage. That's not true. We say that right now the situation with the United States, with Venezuela and Colombia is on the break. Trump was a very strong supporter, which is a strong opponent of Colombia because and was a strong supporter of FARC because he wanted to piss off the United States. However, Maduro is currently having to take a different stance. He doesn't have as strong of ties to these groups as Chavez did. In addition, he has the propensity to negotiate with the United States, which means he doesn't have to be as part of these groups. However, in the election that's why he has to go hard on this because the United States is there. The plan allows the United States to go to the region, which allows for Colombia and Venezuela cooperation to happen. This is the only way to promote. This is the only way to promote regional stability. You say that Venezuela and Venezuela doesn't cooperate. They want to cooperate now. We're trying to cooperate. Simply isn't able to next. You say there's no ambassadors. This is why it's Colombia, Venezuela cooperation, and the United States leaving the region, which is internally solving for this impact. Next, you say all causes deforestation. We isolate the disability within the region leads to terrorization and then lack of literature. One causes deforestation to happen, which is because every white species counts, which means that one species and one type of tree loss could cause the internal to cause biodiversity collapse, which is a single scenario which have to use the cross-check principle and evaluate this. First argument is the pink tide is the whole thing Venezuela. Is the whole thing Venezuela more successful? Quite like the Maduro analysis. Maduro is having to go to the middle of north to beat the rebels in the election, which, and in addition, it doesn't have the far left, as far as extremist ties to indicate the removal of pink tide is happening for the world successful. In addition, you say that you said the move towards communism is increasing with the oil and the cooperating with Cuban oil. Cuban is also moving communist infrastructure in order to try to democratize because pressure takes this happen, which means that you need to go to the wrong direction. direction. They're trying to enter negotiation, trying to negotiate to an order, open up the borders with the United States, and have a better relationship. In addition, we are taking the increase in drug violence that's happening within. One is the reason why big tech is failing within the world. The status quo didn't have any credibility with the people there because it happened in the past, which means there's no going to stop in the future, and which means we want public support. You said humans and machines use machines run the key to democracy. This is not key to democracy. This is key to corrupt political processes, like what happened with what's happening with so many Latin American governments, where the big tech communist organizations get international control, where people control the governments of multiple different countries to suppress democracy. In certain cases, it's an idealization that they view as being more important than the voices of their people. The next argument that is saying that because the United States don't stand with the United States and Latin America, right now you say it's two countries, but you say it's two countries, but the ties stick from world status quo. When we look at the first argument is unique to the United States increasing for free trade agreements with other countries within Latin America, such as Brazil and Argentina. And as you say that this helps fight terrorism, this is a true isolate that the pink ties are getting the funding is through the companies and infrastructure that are being built in the region. Look, the companies and infrastructure that are being built in the region are being built as fronts for terrorism, fronts for corporations. This is what's happening in Venezuela, why they're capable of laundering money through them. Indicates that shutting down these things is going to decrease narco-terrorism within the region. These things are increasing our relations with Venezuela and Colombia through the aspects of the plan, decreases terrorism in these regions. You see the decrease in the legitimacy of the pink movement, fair, we can see that, fair. We isolate this and uniquely key to the pink tide if their focus is on economic principles and communist principles. This means that this is not uniquely key and won't be able to completely collapse them. First, you can add the next on the interlinks. We saw the U.S. exploitation because we shall show new policy within the region. Next, on the impact level of the debate. First, I said that first, the argument is ties bad. We say that this prevents different types of more better policy from increasing usage, solve poverty because they're being capable of giving things to people. This is causing rapid levels of inflation throughout Latin America, which is actually causing long-term economic damage. It means that their professional poverty becomes inevitable. In addition, we say for healthcare, we say that healthcare is being provided by this organization through Cuba is capable of getting to all people, so capable of getting people that are within the political parties that agree with the ideology movement. Whereas different people are going to successfully isolate, which increases violence and tensions among groups makes preventing violence within the region more conflict in the future. In addition, pink tide is always going to incur United States backlash because of our ideological backlash against communism. This increases more U.S. and Latin American conflict, which increases risk for terrorism, which cross by disadvantage to increases likelihood of destabilizing the region, which makes poverty and healthcare impossible in the future. Cartels. First, I can cross-line the case that drug violence is increasing within the world of the status quo. You said that 8% you say that Mexico cartel violence is decreasing. It simply shows that they have shifted to other places. They are leaving Mexico, but they're establishing themselves in other places, such as Colombia and other parts of Latin America. It indicates it's not decreasing at all the world of status quo. Our ability to get content from this group has not increased at all within recent years. It indicates drug violence is increasing. Furthermore, across the board, compared to increasing violence in Colombia to the decreasing violence in Mexico, just shows that it's shifting its location, not that drug violence is going away. In addition, your articulation of the Fox News survey, I probably don't think that's true. They haven't incentive. That's ridiculous. Drug violence within Mexico is high. This is why Mexican president, the new Mexican president, has been fighting so actively against budget changing policy, but budget changing policy has been effective. Right now, next one, let's debate. First thing is link turn. We decrease the ability for drug cartels to function within the world of 20C because we decrease the ability for terrorist organizations to function throughout Colombia because we decrease the ideological issues that cause them to do this, as well as decreasing Venezuela's hatred of us, which means that they are people stopping the terrorist fronts and organizations happening within the region, which keeps the funding for terrorist organizations. We said the funding is uniquely key because it's what allows for your taxpayers to have and allows them to access to resources that they need. The next thing we say is make drug production easier. That's not true. We articulated that's first thing is we turn this to be drug production harder. The reason why Colombia is not capable of stopping drug violence in the world status quo is because the United States is enforcing policies that don't coincide with local needs. The Colombian government is capable of doing this called the MIME analysis. MIME analysis that they're legislators are capable of having localized solutions and community-based politics from the 1AC means that this is the only way to stop drug production within the region. The next argument is linked to the next argument you see that they both the movement within the north. This is the movement within the north. This is true across the drug violence is still increasing, which means that even if physical violence isn't happening in Mexico, the violence and the drug trafficking is still happening through the region, which indicates that the infrastructure still exists, which contradicts your uniqueness story. In addition, it does involve the movement within the north because we're capable of making corporations in places like Colombia. In addition, we're not moving or changing our anti-narcotic strategies within other regions to meet the solving the world status quo problems, so solving because of our new relationship with the presence of change. Next, I can border security. You say you say terrorism. The first argument is the case came on the links to this. Next argument is that if terrorism is a lead. Do you say terrorists currently don't have the resources, weapons to be able to create this without support from local governments? You say retaliatory wars, peace don't escalate because the United States is capable of it, doesn't want to overreact.
All right, the order will be cartels and all the.
Cartels, case, and then the other did so. Cartels, tied, in case order.
Not going for cartels extending our we're not changing our anti-credit strategies, but additionally the terrorism don't have resources to do any determinable impact. Additionally, there's no ability for it to cause resource retaliation. There's no ability for them to generate any sort of offense here. Additionally, go to the deep tide argument and also move better interlinks into resolving the problem of violence within Colombia on the pink tide side there. First argument is Maduro must go to the middle. We will argue this is a good thing. All of their analysis on the top of their second advantage and all of our uniqueness arguments are reasons why now that's a good thing. They have said that literacy in Venezuela is disproportionately high, that it's 80%. This is nowhere else in Latin America. Probably a reason why Al's able to solve back things right now. You said that he's not showing extremist ties right now because he's forced the middle. This is probably indicative of the stats. Another reason why he doesn't have to do this in a world to be a planet he can move right towards the United States. You can see the arguments indicating that in a world where he moves right, that allows people like that allows fascists to come to power, which interlink turns the entirety of your offense. You say that uniqueness is going the wrong way. No, you break your uniqueness the wrong way. You are struggling to increase relations with the United States. We will argue this is a link to this having reason why you should reject the team. Additionally, your next argument is that pink tide fails because of the drug war. Arguing this pink tide is that will resolve the drug war. Venezuela has been fundamental in stopping park invention within the force on the side of Venezuela. They've only been motivated by specific claims about Colombian issues, but that would be resolved in the near-term future because we're winning arguments indicating that their future leader, i.e. Maduro, would be able to resolve these bonds in a non-violent way in a world of steps where the United States does not have to sacrifice. It has to sacrifice its image in Latin America. Only in a world where the United States must sacrifice its image in Latin America does Maduro have to not appear so moderate anymore, and he can move right and turn into a fascist that causes all the problems that we're seeing in Colombia in the first place. Additionally, you said that there's no link because of the weakness. You said that the FTA, that we could do things like FTs and stuff like that with Brazil and Argentina and stuff, so that is not indicative of the specific region. We're winning specific arguments that Venezuela is the heart of Alba, which means that if you trade off with their neighbor that they have the most kind of problems with historically, i.e. Colombia, that would be the only thing that would be able to trickle away. No, Brazil and Argentina are able to do so. You say turning Alba means that Alba that's key infrastructure terrorism. We will argue that this is not specifically true. You conceded that you conceded first that there's no impacts to terrorism, but that additionally that we are able to solve back for more important impacts, i.e. the dehumanization that's ongoing on case because we're able to get people to be able to read in places like Venezuela. We're able to decrease the amount of poverty in Venezuela since 2006 from 60% to 30%. This is a massive decrease in poverty that is happening because of Alba. In a world where you trade off of that, there's only a risk that you are a bad thing. But additionally, you say that Alba, you say that plan decreases the amount of terrorism, or arguing that you do not decrease the amount of terrorism because it's empirically proven that Colombian people, whether or not they're trained by the United States, have been able to use this technology for the boom of these terrorist organizations, and they have increased growing cultures. And there's no reason why the United States, if it doesn't have forward operating bases anymore, would still have the same incentive to make sure that these people are doing what the United States wants, which means there's only a risk they have more, that they cooperate with terrorists more post-plan, which means that there's only a risk that pink tide and a stable social movement within the continent of Latin America to be able to resolve these problems because they've established a platform, and only a risk that changing that platform via plan action would lead to a decrease in their ability to remain consistent on these issues, which means that we see race terrorism. Additionally, you say that focusing on the economy means that focusing on the economy means that a communist economy means that we lead complete collapse. This argument is just not true. You conceded that there's only a risk that we decrease the rampant poverty ongoing in Latin America. We're just winning this argument. You've made this argument yourself. Conceded this argument. They're obviously good for the economy. You've also conceded the entire link as far as we change relations with Latin America. That means that we're going to increase the propensity for these people to remain strong against the United States, which is the backbone of Alba's position, which means that in that case you have to lead it out.
The dissent results in the plan.
Yeah, the dissent results in the plan eventually because Colombia will eventually be able to kick out the United States once they have enough social movements behind it, which means that we solve comparatively better. You said the pink tide causes rapid translation, but you conceded rapid inflation. You conceded arguments that the International Monetary Fund is comparatively worse, and in a world where we're using international finances and things like the United States, that is always worse. In a world where we shift to United States policies, that is exactly the thing that you are trying to move away from the status quo. Your entire argument is that the United States is doing a bad job in Colombia, so why on earth would we want to increase the United States presence in some place like Venezuela? This is just not making any sense, but additionally you say it leads to long-term collapse. You and the argument that endemic poverty ongoing in the status quo proves that's probably not true, and that we'd be able to resolve those claims, but additionally that these policymakers are not rational actors, and that they'd be able to resolve it in the long term. The only people who hated Chavez were the rich people, and it turns out that those rich people were able to spread the word in the United States, which is the reason why we hated Chavez in the first place, but he's not actually that bad of a guy. Additionally, you say that Alvin leads to the United States backlash, but you can see, you think the United States would never take retaliatory war, but additionally in a world where the popular support for Alba spills over eventually into Colombia, it resolves the entirety of the problem with terrorism there in the first place. There's no reason why they would fund the FARC against Colombia anymore, which means it resolves any question of that. You can see that poverty is you should evaluate poverty first because it's a systemic impact, and everything's pretty hunky-dory right now, and there's only risk the plan makes it worse on. Advanced one for sure, I want you to extend us the turn either, or no, this is a very simple turn, they have not responded to it adequately. The turn is that we still allow funding to these places, but we don't have any people on the ground. We don't have any monitors in the region because we've removed all of the boots. And if their argument is that regional expertise is key to being able to resolve the drug war, obviously there's less regional expertise behind the just massive amounts of money that the United States is pumping in post-plan, which means that they don't solve case. Their only argument here is that we would continue co-opting, we continue monitoring and intel sharing, but they've continued arguments that in a world where Colombia has the propensity to be a corrupt fascist government, likely isolated on the entirety of our pink tide disadvantage, that means that there's only a risk that they would use this money coming from the United States to further their own goals, i.e. fascism, which would result in a net decrease in the amount of value of life in the region, i.e. would turn off their dehumanization impacts, because even if these people aren't being used as drug mules anymore, they're going to be used as other things, i.e. they would be biopowered into, I don't know, staying in their houses or living in an abject state of poverty, which has been the result of capitalism since it started. But additionally, you say that it's the only way to solve terrorism. We've conceded that terrorism is that there's no impact to terrorism. Additionally, you are conceding the argument that in a world where we increase capital, no, I've already made that argument. I've also conceded all of our arguments that this hasn't happened in the past. Only the United States-Mexico border has the propensity to uprise, which means that if you're winning arguments indicating that that is not going to uprise, then there's no way in hell that it's going to cause an uprising between borders down there, which means that there is literally no risk that it escalates to war. You don't have a response to these arguments. You should hold that the United States and the MG don't allow people to
extend across the all-cost dehumanization means it either moves elsewhere or they
additionally, extending the all-cost dehumanization, either it moves elsewhere or the status quo is able to resolve it on advantage. They say that Venezuela and the United States relations on the brink right now because Chavez pissed off Colombia and Maduro's weaker. Our argument is exactly this. In a world where Maduro has to, or is able to move towards the United States in a world post-plan, that would always be a bad thing for the movement, which you've conceded is proportionally better at resolving all the problems in which you are suggesting are the biggest impacts around. Like the fact that your second uniqueness argument is that 80% of the people in Venezuela are literate in a world post-plan. There's no longer an incentive for them to continue on the social programs that have made this possible, i.e. he's able to move right in, start focusing on business instead of focusing on education and healthcare, which means all of these things go in world post plan. This is literally the extension of our pink tide. This ad, you've also conceded the all cost of your impact, i.e. Brazil is deforesting 1.25 acres a second, which means that I don't even know how many acres have been deforested since I've been giving this speech, but it means that your impact is not unique, and there's no ability for you to be able to resolve it. Only a risk that Alba is able to resolve it in a world where they're able to export their socialist economy to Brazil in a stable fashion. There's no uncertainty with the economy. Only in a world where they cause uncertainty in the economy, i.e. the ability for the United States to push into Latin America, which is their entire link story that they're going for, would it cause destabilization in the economy, which would necessarily lead to uncertainty among the market and therefore rapid deforestation because they have to make sure that they can ensure their profits to get that down.
You would cause more.
Yeah, uncertainty in the economy obviously increases deforestation.
Okay, so it's going to be an overview. And then, that's my favorite. I want an overview, and then I want the case, and then I want pink tide, and then I want cartels on top. So, sorry, overview, cartels, case in order, pink tide. Everybody ready? any risk the plan has no ability to be able to solve the impacts they isolate, and also any risk the plan is going to trigger the pink tide is having CAU vote for women today. You vote for women today. Go to the cartels. Kate's probably going to try and blow up this terrorist organization, but you can extend. There's no ability for terrorists to actually have any sort of impact longer. There's no not being able to gain sort of offense on these leaders. So don't give them any sort of action to answer that. On advantage one. Look, it's pretty simple here. Only argument they're going to be going for is the dehumanization argument. They're conceding arguments out of the block to tell you specifically that other drug cartels such as Mexico, Honduras, and Guatemala use these drug deals and also can set across their own arguments that the violence simply just moves elsewhere. Probably due to the fact that they're not going to be able to solve the entirety of their case, and also probably due to that their only impact they're going to be able to go for in this round is terminally not unique in this instance. Means that they literally have no ability to solve after the dehumanization is occurring now. Only in a world in which we have the pink tide movement coming, the pink tide movement which is coming now to resolve these questions of drug war. Will we be able to overcome that? Look, the reason why there's drug wars happening now is because they don't have really the ability to, they can only rely upon this effort and economic viability. Only in a world in which we have pink tide, they stop getting exploited by Western states and the IMF. Are we going to be able to resolve any sort of these questions of dehumanization? Means that voting for Nag and making sure the pink tide happens solves the entire internal tide of advantage one. Advantage two, on the impact level, don't they have Katie do any more extrapolation? Because Megan screwed up just look at the MG. You should be very sort of that PMR extrapolation. They are just straight conceding the fact that their impact is always going to be not unique because Brazil is continuously deforesting, is not necessarily doing anything about it. It means that even if you solve the small instance of the Colombian border being deforested, you will still have all the problems of Brazil being deforested. It means that you have no ability to solve this, and your impact is truly not unique. Pink tide. This is where we're winning the debate. They're just not doing enough with their story. Our story is telling you specifically that Chavez was key to be able to pass or to get this pink tide moving. What the pink tide did is allow it to give 80 loans without any sort of conditions. That means that people aren't going to be in debt, which means that they can produce their own agriculture and create their own businesses in the region without being the slave to the Western IMF Bank or even to the United States. It means that when you pull out the United States and kill the entirety of the pink tide, that's probably a reason as to why you are going to be enslaving more people to the capitalist dream and causing more poverty within this region. Only a world in which we make sure that the United States is a bad presence in this region and Latin America themselves kicks out the United States, will they be able to have the result of this entire pink tide debate. Additionally, they have literally no offense on this debate. They Kate's probably going to go for these arguments about how they create a corrupt and bad government. But once again, Megan's not giving you any sort of warrants about this whatsoever, so you can send our specific warrants to tell you that you can extend all of our specific warrants to tell you that the pink tide's always been such the fact that poverty decreased in Venezuela from 60% to 30%. That does not sound like a corrupt, angry, evil government to me. That sounds like a government that has the heart of the people on his mind and wants to decrease poverty. It means that we are the best determined to cause poverty. Impact health on this. This is the first impact that you go to because it's systemic. They have conceded this throughout the entire debate. That means you have an ethical obligation to people to stop all of the poverty that's happening right now. It means that you have, like, in a world in which you have no ability to solve back for poverty, is probably the reason that's why you're going to be losing this debate. Don't let them pull across any sort of precautionary principle arguments whatsoever, because this is the more probable impact. And you right now have an ability to stop the poverty and dehumanization that's occurring in Latin America now by allowing the pink tide to continue. Additionally, no impact to cause U.S. backlash in the region because you've already set yourself to no retaliatory war in the area, and also our popular support arguments are always going to be able to overcome this. So even if the U.S. does backlash in this region, the popular support will be able to overcome this.
Okay. The order is advantage one to disadvantage.
You want us to call them words?
Yes.
This is an easy round for you to vote for the University of Oregon because the affirmative is winning that we solve Venezuelan-Colombian relations and terrorism. This is because a U.S. withdrawal allows Maduro to go to the center and he compromises with Colombia because he can appeal to the hard right and he can still compromise. Also, we are key to solving terrorism because we solve Venezuelan funding of terrorist groups and change the U.S. image. This is the internal link to solving poverty because we solve systems that create and allow for terrorism. Plus, you can see that the U.S. will just use military force to stop the pink tide communist regimes anyway, which means the military advantage role. The only question of affirmative solvency is whether or not we can monitor whether or not we can monitor the drug war. Unfortunately, you can see an argument that says that we have trained the individuals and we have given them technology for the past 40 years, which means that when we say regional and local monitors, we are talking about the Venezuela, we're talking about the Colombian people that we have already trained. It is about local politics in the region because these individuals know what is best for their region. This is why Kevin can speak uniquely to why the amount of homophobia in places like rural Missouri. We think that people who are in the region know the politics of the region better and are better capable of saying, yes, we need more people here to solve the drug war. No, we don't need more people here. They are better and capable of allocating resources. Also, they, better regional expertise solves. Also, intel sharing and other U.S. info gathering like the CIA. Just because we don't have boots on the ground doesn't mean we don't know what's happening. Does it? Empirics. Chavez went right in anti-U.S. sentiment. Maduro is going right in anti-U.S. sentiment. U.S. leaving means that they are capable of becoming more modern. You can see this analysis. It is in reaction to the United States' anti-communist, there is an enormous ideological conflict right now. This conflict is over the question of your dissent. It is over the question of communism. When the U.S. is present in the region, the communists are saying no, so they go anti-communist. So they go anti-U.S. When the U.S. leaves the region, they are capable of, not just backlashing against the U.S. Also, Alpha is not key. We think that local solutions are always best. That is the articulation that we're giving you on Advantage 1 for why, or what is he is capable of solving. Regional solutions are always best. Also, you only give resources to individuals who are consistent with the ideological stance of Alpha. You can see this argument that only the people who are in line with the political party are capable of accessing the resources, which means that you further move people away from the party when you say that you only get to be part of the club. You only get to live if you get to be part of the club. Also, you can see an argument that says that the U.S. is in an ideological conflict with communism, therefore an increase in communism as per the DISAD, as per the worlds of the status quo, per your analysis, means that the U.S. military will roll in and create more conflict. This reverses all the benefits of healthcare and solving poverty. Internally linked towards your DISAD, I don't know why you don't want to acknowledge this. Also,
terrorism decided to cross-apply upgrades, so I still get that impact.
Yeah, okay. Also, on the cartels side, you don't do enough work kicking out of this DISAD. I think that we're winning a clear argument that says that the cartels still give money and resources to terrorists. This means that this means that they can still get access to funds. Venezuela, Colombia, and the U.S. relations are key to stopping Venezuela from funding terrorism because it allows Maduro to go into the middle and support his policies. This means that Alba can't solve all of terrorism or all of poverty because if it could, it would be preventing or solving these things right now. But because it has full support, this means that also it causes a rapid amount of inflation. Revaluation of the dollar in Venezuela is what allows them to pay for things like universal health care, which means that you create a bubble that will inevitably collapse. This causes poverty and lack of health care in the long term. It also means that terrorism is absolutely inevitable in the world of the DISAD because you create the systems that allow for poverty, and you create the systems of poverty which allow for the breeding of terrorism. Also, the terrorists don't currently have technology, but the Venezuela, they
get it through the drug cartels in Venezuela.
But they get it through the drug cartels in Venezuela.
Which means that we solve the long term.
Which means that we solve the long term. Okay, poverty. Also, Venezuela under Chavez reduced poverty by just throwing oil money in poor areas. This looks really good for poverty statistics, which show literacy rates, but it's really bad for the economic structure as a whole. That is the bubble articulation that we're giving you. They're experiencing huge amounts of inflation right now and are not capable of developing a social structure that prevents solving the root cause of poverty. Brazil DeFo, under Anderson. Gut check, 8 million acres a second is an absurd amount of forest. That is obviously not lost. You are obviously lying right now. Also, you make an argument that says that uncertainty increases deforestation. However,
what did you say? 8 million?
the whatever statistic you gave was
It was 1.2 acres per minute.
Okay, this number has changed every single time it's come out of a woman's mouth.
No, it's 1.2.
I'm just going to say the amount that you articulated is obviously a lie.
Why don't you keep giving a speech?
But I'm going to give a speech. Okay. We're running an argument on the dissent that says you collapse the economy because you create a bubble in the short term. This increases the incentive for terrorism, which we say that even if there's deforestation right now, lawless conflict, which you can see will happen on the border, means that they don't care about the environment. This massively increases the amount of destruction and escalation of climate change, but more importantly, it creates instances of using a dirty bomb. You can see arguments about this. This causes rapid death and dehumanization. It also means that enormous amounts of people die, which independently outweighs the systemic impact of your negative case. Yeah. Case of the water? Did you drink out of my water bottle? Oh, that's yours. No, that's yours. Oops, sorry. I was like, okay. You can do that.